Hi there, my name is Paul Bright and I'm the founder of the Beginner Guitarist Academy, and in this video I'm going to hand you the roadmap to learning to play the guitar or learning the guitar the fast, easy and fun way. So it's going to be a really good video. We're going to learn a lot of things, and I think let's just get straight into it and go through the roadmap to learning guitar the fast, easy and fun way. You see, learning guitar can feel, a lot like looking for buried treasure without having a treasure map. And we've got a treasure map down here on the screen, and it's fairly easy if we kind of know the path of how do we get from kind of where we are right now to where we want to be, where X marks the spot. X is where the treasure is, where the buried treasure is. And for us, when we're learning guitar, whatever our goal may be, and for different people it's certainly different. So for some people it might be just to be able to play a couple of songs on the guitar. For others it's to be able to jam with friends and family. For others it's to be able to form a band and maybe play on live on stage. Or for example, for other people it may be to become the world's greatest guitarist. It's in the kind of the realms of Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, Slash, or whatever it may be. So what we need to do is find out, well, where are we right now when playing the guitar? And I'm going to assume if you're watching this video, you're kind of new to the journey of playing the guitar, you're just starting out, and where do you want to get to? Where is that X that marks the spot? Now, it can be very difficult when starting out because you don't know what you don't know. So if you're just starting out, it's like, well, where am I right now, and where do I need to get to? And you may have an idea there, but how do you get from where you are? So for our treasure map, how do we get from kind of down here to this X marks the spot? And if we don't have a treasure map, we don't have a road map, we don't have a plan of how to get from where we are to where we want to be, how are we going to know, how to get there? So that's what this video's purpose is designed, is to show you that and to give you that roadmap. Okay, so what I want to show you right now is how most people try and learn guitar, including myself when I was starting out, and really why it doesn't work. And if you have a look at here, this is kind of the progression most people go through. At the beginning, they're learning chords, and what they think is, and what a lot of the books will teach is, this is how to play the A major chord, this is how you play the D major chord, this is how you play the G, C, E, F, B major chords, this is how you play the A minor, C minor, D minor, E minor, this is how you play all the seventh chords, this is how you play the minor seventh chords, and this is how you do the diminished sevenths, and it just starts getting really kind of frustrating and overwhelming because you're learning all these chords, but it's very difficult to actually work out, well, how do you apply these chords to be able to play songs on the guitar? And for most people, like myself and most of my students, the goal is to be able to play songs, and again, whether they do that just with themselves, with friends and family, to be able to do it in a band, and maybe their goal certainly extends on, but there's these there's songs they want to do, but they're just getting bombarded with learn this chord, learn this chord, learn this chord. It gets really overwhelming. Then what you think is, after you've learned those chords, then you move on to this next type of chords which are more advanced, like bar chords. And if you've ever had a look at bar chords and just starting out, you know how difficult they can be. Things like the F major chord, or bar chords held in the shape of E, or bar chords held in the shape of A. And then they say you need to learn power chords and palm muting and things like that. Then learn scales, learn how to do the minor pentatonic scales, the major pentatonic scales, the minor major scales, and just all these different scales. And then you're kind of doing them, and you're thinking, well, how do I apply this? And then it's, well, learn music, learn music theory, learn how to read tablature, learn how to read sheet music, learn all these different things. Then learn genres, rock, blues, funk, classical, acoustic, fingerstyle, or whatever it may be. Then go off and learn some songs, and no wonder why it's very difficult. This is kind of what happened to me, and I almost gave up the guitar because I was going through this progress, and I only got really up into the first kind of sections where I was learning chords and bar chords and those, and I just got frustrated and learned some scales as well, and I couldn't work out how to apply it all. I was getting frustrated, I was getting bored with the guitar, and it just gets really overwhelming. So that's how most people try and learn the guitar, unfortunately, when getting started, and unfortunately I guess it just doesn't work. So what I'm going to do is show you how I recommend learning the guitar. And this is my roadmap for learning the guitar the fast, easy and fun way. It's very simple, and it's just 3 steps. Step one is just to learn those guitar essentials. There's still these essentials that we need to learn, such as how to hold the guitar, how to tune the guitar, those kind of things. And I'll cover each of these sections in more detail. Our next section is to learn songs, chords, and strumming. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, and actually in a lot more detail, and give you some examples of what I mean. And it's learning how to play the guitar by using a song-based approach, but more on that in a moment. Then once you've got those, and you've kind of got this foundation built, then we can then move on to genre-based learning, such as the rock and the blues and the funk, and there's going to be different styles for different people. So what we need to do is, if you kind of think of building a house, the first thing that's laid when building a house is a foundation, a big solid concrete foundation, which we can then build our house upon. And that's what you want to do. And that's kind of what those first two steps mainly do, is building that solid foundation and kind of starting to build the house. And then what you do is, when you move to the genre-based learning, that's kind of when you start building the house and finishing it off and adding those kind of finer details to it. So hopefully that all makes sense so far, but it's simple. 3 steps. Learn the guitar essentials, which are nice and easy. You can do it in a fun way. Then learn songs, chords, and strumming, and use that using a song-based approach, and then move into genre-based learning. So let's take a look at this in a lot more detail. So we've got our first part, the guitar essentials. So what we want to do is we want to cover, the parts of the guitar. What is the guitar? What does it look like? What's the sound hole? What are the strings? Kind of get an idea of what string is what. What is the E, A, D, G, B, E strings? What are the frets? And just kind of those parts of the guitar. And, you can learn that and memorize, the different strings over time, but you want to just kind of familiarize yourself with that. You want to learn how to hold the guitar. There's actually 3 ways you can hold the guitar: the casual method, the classical method, and if you have a strap, you can stand up and play the guitar while standing. You want to learn how to hold a guitar pick. Now, you may even want to use fingerstyle, but even so, I do recommend learning to play the guitar and using a guitar pick. You want to learn how to tune your guitar. So, fortunately, there's so many different devices, that are very inexpensive. You can get clip-on tuners for under $10, like the Snark SN1 guitar tuner. It's a great tuner on Amazon for less than $10, and it's very accurate. Works for both an acoustic and electric guitar. If you've got a phone, such as a smartphone, like an iPhone or Android-based phone, you can download tuning apps for free, and they will tune your guitar by listening to them. Work again for both acoustic and electric guitar, and eventually, when you've got some more money to spend, you can certainly upgrade and get kind of pedal based tuners or ones that you can plug into, but that's down the track. So you do need to learn how to tune your guitar, because the best guitarist playing on an out of tune guitar is still going to sound horrible, and then we've got etc. So just those kind of fundamentals. This is more that theory based approach, but it's really the essentials, and they are important to know, but fortunately you can go through that very, very quickly. Okay, so let's look at our next section, or kind of step 2, which is songs, chords, and strumming. Now, this is my number 1 secret for learning the guitar, and that is to use a song-based approach when learning the guitar. So you may be thinking, well, what is a song-based approach? And I kind of mentioned it before. Well, a song-based approach is a practical approach to learning the guitar, where you learn guitar by actually learning how to play songs. So instead of kind of learning all this boring theory and drills that you're never going to use again, you learn the guitar by actually learning songs where you feel like you're making great progress and you're showing that. And what happens is each song acts like a mini goal, to achieve, which gives us a feeling of progress and momentum. And that feeling, or having that feeling of progress or momentum, call it whatever you will, is really critical when learning the guitar, especially at the beginning, because unfortunately the guitar is quite challenging to learn at the beginning, and that's just it's like anything, learning to drive, learning to play golf, or whatever it may be. There's that learning curve. So if we can feel like we're making progress, we're doing it in a fun, practical approach, where instead of learning all this boring theory, your dream was to be able to play a guitar and have fun with it, I'm sure, not just learn all this boring theory. So that's what we want, that feeling of progress. It's really critical. So this is what a song-based approach can do for you. So here we've got like our treasure map again, and when I said here, each song kind of gives us, acts like a mini goal, like I've got here. So let me show you what that means. So if we bring up our map, we're starting down here. So instead of having to kind of start at the beginning and make our way all across this journey, which is quite a long journey just to get to the treasure, and it can at times feel like you're never going to get there, even if we do have a plan, what we want to do is break this down into kind of small chunks, have our little kind of goals or mini goals that will make up this bigger goal. So, let's say we've got, a goal, we're starting off down here, we've got goal 1 down there, then we've got goal 2 down here, then goal 3 there, goal 4, goal 5, and we've got all these kind of little milestones or little points in our journey that we're trying to aim for and achieve, which which one is going to, if we achieve these goals, it's easy to stay on track and keep focused. Plus, if we achieve these goals, we're naturally just making progress towards our bigger goal, which may be, to be able to play fluently with your friends and family, be in a band or whatever it may be. And, of course, depending on what your goal is really going to determine where that, X marks the spot for you. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's what I mean by having like these mini goals, because it feels like we're making progress. It doesn't feel like we've got such a long way to go. We're just looking at kind of the next thing. We're keeping the big picture in mind, but we've got our kind of progression we can go through. So let me give you an example. So let's use this song-based approach. And a great song when starting out is to learn Hound Dog by Elvis. So a very classic song. And the thing about to be able to play this song, so this is the song-based approach. If I want to be able to play Hound Dog by Elvis, I need to know a few things. One, I need to know, kind of what chords are played and in what order. I need to know what kind of strumming is being used to tie those chords together. And then I just really need to be able to play those chords. So that song kind of from start to finish. So, with Hound Dog, there's 3 chords. We've got the E major, we got the A major, and D major chords. So if I just learn those 3 chords plus a simple down strumming, which is just, you can do this song with just simple down strums, I can then play Hound Dog by Elvis. Now let's say I want to move on to song number 2. So song 1 was our first goal. Our song number 2 is kind of our second goal. And these are kind of, classic songs I think that are very well recognized, which is why I've used these, as an example. And also they're nice, easy songs to learn. So Wild Thing by the Trogs, we need to learn how to play the E major chord. We need to learn how to play the A and D major chords. And we just need to use a simple down strumming, which you can see is very similar to song number 1. So this is where you kind of start building that momentum and things get easier, because song 1 we learned 3 chords, the E, A, and D major chords. Well, in song 2, I can use those same chords, and it's a very similar strumming pattern, slightly different, but a very simple down strumming strum, and I can play Wild Thing by the Trogs. So you can see I didn't have to relearn chords for this. I've just used the same chords in a slightly different order with a slightly different strumming pattern, which gives it that sense of rhythm, and I can play song number 2. So this is where a song-based approach helps out. Instead of having to learn the E, A, D, G, F, C major chords and kind of work out, well, how do I use it? Well, I've used just 3 chords to play 2 different songs already. So let's continue. So I should say song number 3, but that's our next goal, which is Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. Well, to be able to play this song, so it's a great song, I love this one. To be able to play this song, I need to know the G major, the C major, the E minor chord, and the D major chord. Well, the D major chord I've already learned before. There's 3 new chords on here, the G, C major chords, and the E minor chord. Fortunately, if I can do an E major chord, the E minor chord's very simple. It's just basically very similar to the E major chord. So theoretically, let's say we're still learning 3 chords, but it's almost like 2.5 chords we've got to learn, because the E minor is very similar to the E major chord. Then what I need to do is learn a down, down, up, down, up strumming pattern. And then if I learn those things, I can then use them and tie them together to play Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. Now, it does have that little kind of melody at the beginning, which you can learn, further on. But, at the beginning, just learn the main chords, the strumming pattern, and you'll be able to play, 95% of the song from start to finish, and people will be able to kind of sing along. You can play it around a campfire or whatever it may be. Song number 2 is, which would, I guess, be song number 4. I made a mistake with my copy and pasting when doing this, but song number 4 is Last Kiss by Pearl Jam. So let's change that to song number 4. But, we've got Last Kiss by Pearl Jam, which is a great song as well, but let's have a look at the chords. G major, E minor, C major, D major chords. They're very similar from our Brown Eyed Girl. So you can see, like I said before, once you learn some chords, and if you do this in the right way and you learn the right songs in the right order, you can just kind of use what you've learned before, and things just get easier and easier, and you start building that momentum. You're learning, then you'll learn the next songs, which will maybe learn, say, the A minor chord, and then you build upon it, and you can see. And let's have a look at the strumming pattern. Well, we've got a down, down, up, up, down, up strumming pattern, which was the same strumming pattern from Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. So, it's like, why make things harder than what they need to be? Just, learn the critical, essential things, do it at the beginning, and then you can see, we started off with our first few songs here with, Hound Dog and Wild Thing, which is just 3 simple chords, and there's other 3-chord songs you can learn as well, which will just use these E, A, and D major chords. And then we've built upon those. We've learned a couple of additional chords like the G major and C major chord, and our half chord, which we're going to call the E minor chord, and another strumming pattern. And I've just learned how to play another 2 songs, and you can learn, Good Riddance by Green Day. With these chords, we could do Bad Moon Rising by CCR. There's just so many different songs we can play with just these strumming patterns, and or even if we learn a couple additional strumming patterns and these chords, and then you can basically keep building upon like this in this order. So that is a song-based approach. So hopefully that makes sense, where basically we're learning the guitar by learning songs, and we're doing that because we're learning songs, we're forced to learn chords, and we're forced to learn strumming patterns, and if you do it in the right way, it's like making progress, and we're achieving these mini goals towards our bigger goal. Hopefully that all makes sense. Let's look at step number 3, which is our genre-based learning. So some example genres you may be interested in learning down the track is rock, blues. Both of those genres are actually very similar, so you'll learn very similar things in those 2 genres. Will have a slightly different feel, but very similar. Country, funk, classical, fingerstyle. There's just so many different types of genres, and each genre will have their own specific elements to kind of focus on. So, for example, with rock and blues, you're going to use a lot of techniques such as hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, vibrato. You're going to learn some of the scales like the minor pentatonic scales, anchor bends, and all these kind of techniques, but you're doing it in a practical way. If you learn some riffs and licks and solos, you'll be able to do that, and you'll see a lot of people that are learning blues or even rock will kind of jump between the 2 genres. Country, again, that's very, you're going to be very chord-based, strumming-based. Funk, classical, each of these genres are going to focus on slightly different elements. There will be some overlap between the genres, but it's kind of, this is where you start moving down and start learning the specific elements by focusing on the genre. And then what you can do is you can even learn a couple of genres at one stage as well. So kind of let's recap what we've done so far. So we've got our old way of learning the guitar, which is kind of that theory-based approach where you're just learning chord after chord after chord after chord, and you're trying to learn hundreds of different chords and moving on to bar chords and getting frustrated and struggling with it, then power chords, then learning all these scales and learning music theory and tablature and all those things. Then you're trying to learn some genres and maybe some riffs and licks and some techniques, but then you're trying to figure out, well, how do I apply everything I've just learned? I've got this big knowledge, this knowledge base, but I can't actually do it because I've learned these chords. I've got the fundamentals. It's like learning how to swim by reading a book. If you can, you read, you may learn everything you need to do to be able to swim, but it's not until you jump into the pool and actually do it is where you're really going to learn how to swim. So that's one example. So you want to kind of learn to play the guitar like learning to swim, where you just learn by actually doing it. And we've got our old way, which, I do not like. I do not recommend. So let's cross that out. A few big crosses there. And then we've got our new way for learning the guitar, down here, which is just a simple 3-step system. Learning guitar, the essentials, the songs, chords, and strumming. And then once you've got that foundation built, like you're building the house, then you can kind of open up the floodgates, open the doors, and then start doing that genre-based learning where you can start learning those more advanced techniques, but you'll feel like you've made progress, you've learnt songs, you're having lots of fun. So if you'd like to learn how to play the guitar using, my song-based approach, my kind of roadmap that I've gone through, but you're wondering, well, Paul, how do I do this? How do I play the A major chord? How do I play the D major chord? How do I do the E major chord and use, you know, those chords to play Hound Dog and Wild Thing by the Trogs? You know, how do I get started? I'd like some help. I'd like some assistance. Can you show me how to do it? Well, if you are dedicated to wanting to be able to play the guitar, then, you know, I'd love to be able to help you with the guitar and show you kind of the easy way, the fun way to learn how to play the guitar. And I do have a 12-week guitar coaching program that will show you, will take you from an absolute beginner to being able to play all your favorite songs, or at least a good chunk of songs on the guitar within 12 weeks, and ideally less. So again, my 12-week guitar coaching program is an online coaching program that's actually delivered one lesson per week for 12 weeks. So what we do is almost assume that, you know, we assume that you're an absolute beginner or just starting out on the guitar, and that you've come to us kind of almost for one-on-one lessons. What I do is show you, you know, basically the same way I learned how to play the guitar when I learned the song-based approach. And we use this song-based approach, like we covered before, to learn the guitar the fast, easy, and fun way. And I'm going to show you, you know, what we're going to cover, and you'll see that we'll learn a new song on the guitar each week, and that's kind of the thing that we believe is really critical when learning the guitar, is to keep it practical and learn a new song on the guitar, so you do get that feeling of progress and momentum. And again, it's delivered in bite-sized chunks, so it's just one lesson per week for 12 weeks, so you don't feel overwhelmed. You know, kind of we've got that, if you remember that example where I was showing you that mini goal, where we've got our bigger goal, and we're just kind of we're putting down like little X's that we can work our way towards. And if we kind of achieve those little X's, we'll get to our big kind of, you know, X marks the spot. Hopefully that all makes sense. So here's what you're going to learn in just the first 30 days alone in my 12-week guitar coaching program. So we're going to start with module number 1, which is going to learn the guitar essentials. We're going to learn our first 4 chords on the guitar. We're going to learn how to play Hound Dog by Elvis and how to play Wild Thing by the Trogs. So everything I've shown you, I'm going to teach you, especially at the beginning. We're going to do that, and that's just in module 1 alone. So module number 2, we're going to learn another 2 chords, which could be maybe the G major and the C major chords. And we're going to learn that down, down, up, down, up strumming pattern. And can you probably guess the songs we're going to cover in module 2? We're going to cover Brown Eyed Girl and Last Kiss by Pearl Jam, which is basically everything I showed you in the examples before. We cover in module number 1 and module number 2 in our 12-week guitar coaching program. So we practice what we preach. We're showing you, you know, I've shown you how to do it, or what to do. And you know, if you'd like to learn how to do it, I'd be, you know, love to sit down and show you in our 12-week guitar coaching program how to play those chords step by step, how to do the strumming patterns in the songs, and really get you making progress on the guitar. Let's have a look at module number 3. So we're going to learn the A minor chord. So we're building upon it, what we've covered so far. We're going to learn the F major chord, which can be a bit of a challenging chord, but I'm going to show you some shortcuts, give you some tips to make it easy, but we'll also kind of be coming back to this chord over the 12 weeks, because it is one of those chords that it can be certainly a lot trickier at the beginning. That's why I will show you a shortcut. Then I'll show you how to use the A minor and F major chords, plus some of the chords from the previous week, like the D major chord, to actually play House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. It's got a slightly different strumming pattern, and I will be showing you that as well. Module number 4, we're going to learn how to read tablature. We're going to learn how to do the C add 9 chord, and I'm going to show you how to use the C add 9 chord to actually improve your chord changes. And you can actually use the C add 9 chord to supplement the C major chord. We're going to show you how to get free backing tracks to all your favorite songs. So it's like, you know, being able to play along with the band. You've got these backing tracks that you can play, and you can basically get that from almost any song out there, and they're free as well. So it's fantastic. And I'm going to show you how to play another song on the guitar, you know, using our 1 song per week kind of approach. Some weeks there will be maybe 2 songs that we're covering, but we'll certainly do at least 1 song on the guitar each week. So that's what you're going to learn in our 12-week guitar coaching program, and that's just kind of within the first 30 days or the first 4 modules. So again, the 12-week guitar coaching program consists of 12 modules, plus there's some bonus lessons and modules as well that we do kind of deliver, you know, at certain intervals throughout the 12 weeks. We will cover things like, you know, how to tune your guitar by ear, and, you know, kind of some more of the advanced things, but we do it in a way so you're not going to get overwhelmed and you're going to have fun. So that's it for this video. I've given you the roadmap for learning how to play the guitar. Again, you want to use a simple song-based approach where you're learning to play the guitar by learning songs. And if you would like a hand with that, I'd be delighted to be able to teach you how to play the guitar. It's something that we love to do. We help people from all over the world to be able to play the guitar. You can probably tell by my accent, I'm based here in Australia, in Queensland, Australia, but we help everyone from the USA, Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and we do that through our online coaching programs, and one of them being our 12-week guitar coaching program, which is certainly great value and is kind of one of our more hands-on type of coaching programs. But what I'll do is I'll include a link below this video so you can find out more information about it and find out how to join up. So I would be delighted to teach you how to play the guitar. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. My name is Paul Bright. I'm the founder of the Beginner Guitarist Academy. What I want you to do right now is use that song-based approach for learning the guitar. Find out where do you want to get to, and what are kind of some of those mini goals that you can achieve that would take you from where you are to kind of where you want to be, and give you that sense of progress and momentum, because for me that was critical with the guitar. So it really kind of helped me out. But again, Paul Bright here, founder of the Beginner Guitarist Academy. I look forward to seeing you inside the 12-week guitar coaching program and helping you with the guitar. Have a fantastic day and happy strumming.